Is it just me? Or is it getting crazier out there?
You are about to launch to Planet Joe. Please enter the pod and fasten the brain safety belt. This planet is intended for mature humans only. If you are the sapient type that gets offended easily,
How you doing, my peeps? Welcome to Planet Joe Pod. It's been a while, and I have missed you like crazy. Yes, it is Joker night on Planet Joe Pod. So, it's been a while. I have missed you. I was busy dealing with my own shit, and in between watching this masterpiece, The Joker. So far, I've seen it 4 times. Thursday, I'm going to see it the 5th time. A masterpiece. If you haven't guessed it by now, this pod is going to be about Joker. That's all we're going to be talking about. So if you haven't seen it yet, spoiler alert, a major spoiler alert. If you haven't seen it yet, pause this pod, go fucking see it, and come back. Okay? Until then, but there it is. You've been warned. If you've seen it, welcome to this analysis of the Joker. Anyways, yeah, it's been a while since I've been blown away to that extent from a movie. The last one was Fight Club. What was it, 1999? That I've seen quite a few times in the theater, and I don't know, close to 100 times DVD, TV, whatever. But yeah, that was the last movie that I was freaked out over from excitement. David Fincher at the time. Yeah, for that time, it was a masterpiece. But anyways, yeah, it's been a while since then, and I lost hope in Hollywood, lost hope in the whole art form of cinematography, because Hollywood was producing tons of stupid, tons of CGI, no storylines, paper thin characters. I don't know if we can blame Hollywood for that, because it's all about supply and demand, and the demand is for stupid. So Hollywood supplies stupid. Which brings me into that, if you haven't heard, Martin Scorsese that got into hot water after he said that all the superhero movies, that's not cinema. Lots of people gave him shit for that, but it's very true. It ain't no cinema. I haven't seen good cinema in a long ass time, many years. Lo and behold, Joker. When it was in production, way before it came out, when I heard about it, I was like, meh. The only thing I was like, it might be interesting is because Joaquin Phoenix is in it. But Todd Phillips, the director, he's known for comedies. He directed a bunch of comedies. He did the whole Hangover series, Old School, which I liked, Due Date. The only movie that I really liked that I was like, ooh, this director has something. It's War Dogs with, what's his name? Jonah Hill. But yeah, I don't know. I heard Todd Phillips, Joaquin Phoenix making Joker. I'm like, Uh, so no expectations there. Then it came out. It got mixed reviews from people like you and me that loved it. Media hated it, and I'm going to go into depth. I'm going to talk about this whole media charade against Joker, and critics kind of like in between, but audiences fucking loved it, and for a good reason. So yeah, I went. I don't know. First time I saw it was 3 weeks ago, and fucking wow, from beginning to end, from opening to end, a masterpiece, a true visual, poetic art form that I can't. Um, I was gonna say I can't describe in words, but this what this podcast is gonna be about. So, so I'm gonna have to describe it in words. So, anyways, I'm gonna start by just analyzing the movie, including or mostly the technical aspects of filmmaking and the way it was shot and all that. And then we'll go into the politics and the bullshit around it from media and what people say and all that stuff. So, but yeah, it's, I want to say, I have a top 10 of my all time favorite movies. So for now, Joker earned third place, best movie of all time. And that's after Shawshank Redemption, first place, and Goodfellas, second place, and enters Joker. And yeah, after that, we have Avatar and Fight Club. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'll break down my top 10 list and give some detail why I think so highly of it. But anyways, for those of you who don't know, I spent most of my life up until I guess I was 30 something chasing the Hollywood dream of directing, acting, studied filmmaking, performing arts in college. It's my biggest passion. It was always my biggest passion. The two biggest passions that I always wasn't ashamed to say, it's film and sexuality. But unfortunately, in the last decade, film kind of died out. But that's not because my passion for it died out. It's just because nothing good, like really good, came out. Like I remember back in the 80s, 90s, every year you had like a heavyweight film that came out that was like a wow. It was, very artistic and very well executed. But the last decade, fucking nothing. Just CGI and explosions and paper thin characters and lame stories. And I don't know. I started thinking maybe I'm just getting old and I'm losing my passion for film. But nope, Joker proved me otherwise. The passion's still there. And Joker reignited the flame. Bonfire, if you will. Fucking wow. Anyways, so just a quick background. As I mentioned, Todd Phillips directed it. He's known for directing comedies, and that's why I didn't have that high of expectations before he came out. But yeah, he's on the Hollywood map now, Mr. Phillips. And then we have the amazing Lawrence Sher. Lawrence is the cinematographer of Joker. Lawrence Sher is known for, he has about 30 films under his belt as a cinematographer or a DP, director of photography, for those of you who don't know. But anyways, Lawrence is known for War Dogs. He worked a lot with Todd Phillips in most of his movies. War Dogs, the Hangover series. He shot Paul, which was kind of cute, which I liked. Due Date, like I said, all the Hangovers. So he's an experienced cinematographer, but nothing really artistic up to the Joker. But this guy is, I don't know, I call him visual Mozart. So he's a cinematographer, and I'll get into details about his choices of camera work, which yeah, I'm probably gonna stutter and lose my words here and there as I'm gonna be talking about it. So I apologize in advance because I'm overly excited. It just fucking wow. Anyways, and then we have what's her name? I'm probably gonna butcher her name. It's Hildur Guanator, Guanator, Hildur Guanator something. Whatever. She's the composer, Joker. Also phenomenal, fucking amazing. Like I'm be talking about how the music is a crucial character in the movie, which is very rare in cinema, where the music is an actual subconscious character, if you will. But anyways, Hildur Guðnadóttir, whatever her name is, she's from Iceland. She worked on many big pictures, specifically Arrival, if you've seen, which was a good movie. So she did the score for that. Sicario, The Revenant. She didn't compose the music, but she's a part of it. I think maybe she did a couple of tracks, The Revenant. And that's it. And then the rest of the movies that she scored. I apologize for these French police sirens in the background. But yeah, she worked on many movies at her home base in Iceland. But yes, that's, like I said, the movies that she's known for, big ones: Arrival, Sicario, and The Revenant, partially The Revenant. But anyways, fucking mind-blowing, amazing. No words. Jeff Groth, the editor, phenomenal work of chopping this movie up and being a part of this, of creating this masterpiece. Jeff Groth is an editor. He's also known for, he worked with Todd Phillips on most of his films, The Hangover, War Dogs, which he did a great job. I remember I kind of noticed the editing in War Dogs, which was pretty good. Yeah, he did the Entourage, Project X. He has about a dozen films under his belt that he edited. But yeah, Joker, he's on the map. And who do we have left? Emma Tillinger. Emma Tillinger, she's the producer. Now, Emma is she's a phenomenal producer. She worked with Scorsese for a long ass time. Now, since my teens, even pre-teens, I came up with the name for Scorsese, and since then I call him the God of Hollywood. He, since day one, since I remember falling in love with the art of filmmaking, Martin Scorsese was my all-time favorite director, and he still is. To me, he's the I don't know, like Bill Gates for technology, I guess, or Steve Jobs. In movies, we have Martin Scorsese. If you don't know who Martin Scorsese is, fuck, I don't know what to say. I was gonna say you should be ashamed, but not everyone is into the whole film thing. But anyways, real quick, my favorite movies that he did: Goodfellas, Raging Bull, Taxi Driver, King of Comedy, The Wolf of Wall Street, The Departed, Hugo, Shutter Island, which I freaking loved. But yeah, he's a master. He's a 21st century visual Mozart, if you will. But anyways, I'm losing track here. Emma Tillinger, she worked with Scorsese for many years. She worked with them on The Wolf of Wall Street, and what else? What was the? Departed. That's when she collaborated with Scorsese, but before that, she worked under his belt as a co-producer and such. But I don't know if you know this. Actually, Scorsese was lined up to produce Joker, but he was too busy with Irishman, which is coming up on Netflix pretty soon, which I also can't wait to see, with Robert De Niro, Joe Pesci, etc. But anyways, he didn't have the time to invest in Joker, so he backed out, and he gave it to Emma. So Emma was she's actually the producer of the movie Joker. So a lot of the information that I'm going to be talking about, it's not just talking out of my ass. I've been in the last month and a half since I've seen Joker for the first time. All I've been watching on YouTube and online is reading articles and seeing interviews with the crew of Joker behind the scenes and all that. So I'm going to be sharing a lot of many nuggets that I heard. What I really wanted to do is have the snippets of those interviews and play them for you. But it would take me forever, because those are long interviews, just to look for the right, what to take out, to save those, and to figure out where I'm going to put them in this podcast. So I gave up on that idea. I apologize, but I'll just share with you what I heard. But here we go again. I'm off track. Emma Tillinger. So what I started saying is that Todd Phillips was talking about Emma Tillinger, like how much she held, because she's under Scorsese. So when it comes to getting locations or things like that, because they worked they shot this movie in New York, which is very difficult to get, to close out streets to shoot and whatnot. But anyways, he was talking about how wonderful Emma was with them and how she helped with her connections, with Scorsese's connections. And for those of you who don't know, Joker is fairly a low budget film. It cost him $55 million to make it. So they were limited when it comes to financial production, if you will. So Emma, she worked really hard to get Todd what he wanted. Todd Phillips, the director. So we're talking about how much it cost them to make. I think it's a good segue to talk about how much they made so far. If you're not aware, Joker is the number one film in history of movies when it comes to income to revenue. They broke the $1 billion mark for an R-rated movie, so it's the number one R-rated movie that made over $1 billion, and it cost them only $55 million. So that alone says, how much audiences loved it. Some didn't. Critics didn't. But anyways, shall we get into the meat and potatoes of this masterpiece? Okay, we shall. Yeah, by the way, I've been listening to the score of Joker on my way to work and on my way back. Um, that's when my appreciation for Spotify jumped in, where I was like, the subscription pays off, where I could just go Joker soundtrack, boom. But yeah, I'm that crazy. But okay, let's break it down and tell you why I'm so fucking crazy about this movie. All right, let's break down the movie from beginning to end. From my point of view, from my artistic point of view, um, and yeah, let's just get into it, beginning to end. Okay, so opening of the movie. The first thing that I liked about it is the 80s logo of Warner Brothers, which I thought was a very cool opening. Like, ooh, authentic, very nice. Loved it. Anyways, so the movie starts as the camera moves in, like a silky ballet dancer towards Arthur, putting on makeup in the mirror, while the camera's moving. I don't know if I should get into details of every movement, but for an opening of a movie, when I see a solid shot like that, um, that it's I don't know, so precise and meticulous, and like when it comes to introducing a character, that movement was it had the right beat. But anyways, while the camera is moving towards Arthur, while he's putting his clown makeup in the mirror, we hear the radio in the background, like the news, talking about how garbage is piling up all over the city. Garbage is piling up. Get it? Subconsciously, metaphorically, yeah, the city. But anyways, those are things that I obviously didn't pick up on the first time that I saw it. But anyways, I think it already plants a seed audibly and visually right from the first few seconds of this story. I think, I don't know, it's a great kind of opening to hear those words. Garbage is piling up. Anyways, and then this beautiful shot of Arthur forcing the smile and frown, and then the frown on his face. And I don't know if you picked up on it, but I think it's obvious, the tragedy and comedy mask, right? And if you don't know, I'm sure you do, but anyways, I'm going to say it though. In modern theater, as an art, it's often represented by two masks. If you know those masks, the smiling one and the frowning one. So the smiling is a comedy mask, representing, let's see if I can remember, Talia, Talia, which is the muse of comedy, and the frowning tragedy masks or mask is representing Melpomene. I think that's the name, Melpomene. Anyways, which is the muse of tragedy. So that's the background of comedy and tragedy, the drama masks. So yeah, we see Arthur forcing a smile on his face, and then the frown, and then that tear that rolls down his eye. And this I heard. This is the first time where I heard Todd Phillips talking about that he had two tracks of the score that were already finished before they started shooting. Now that's something that I always said, that as a filmmaker, that I would totally do that on set. Like I would have the idea of the score, or the score that I would have in the movie, and play it on set in order to create the not the vibe, but the energy. In order to create the energy that I would want to portray in that scene, and that's what Todd Phillips did. He had 2 tracks that were done, and he played that in the background. The 2 that he talked about the most is the opening shot, which then Joaquin talks about, like, that's how it helped him kind of go deep, and the tear came out and whatnot. And the second one, which we'll get to that part, is the bathroom dance after the shooting, the subway shooting. So they just played that in the background, and in the bathroom was only Lawrence and Joaquin, cinematographer, and Joaquin in the bathroom with that music in the background, which is phenomenal. I don't know. It's something I'm sure many other people or directors thought about it, but I don't know. I felt like it's something that I always, throughout my life, I was like, yeah, if I'm ever going to direct something, it's going to be to put that music on the set. Anyways, yeah, I was going to tell you a little story of a short play that I wrote. That it was a silent 1-act play, and it was just a bunch of different music playing with the actors. But anyways, I don't know, I'll tell you about it some other time. But that's what was so great about this. Anyways, so you know which the scene I'm talking about, the opening scene, the tear coming out of his eye. Right there and then you're like, okay, you're in, even if you don't know it yet. And then it cuts to also the continuity of the movie is fucking brilliant. But anyways, we're cutting from him putting on the makeup at the clown job. And then it cuts to Arthur as a clown dancing on a busy street with the sign, "Everything must go." Now, everything must go. It's a message to the viewer's subconscious mind. The seed is planted in the viewer's mind. Everything must go. I love that. They could have put anything in it. Obviously, it's a famous line for a store who wants to sell everything. But it has a meaning. I don't know. Maybe I'm being over dramatic with every detail, but I think Everything Must Go has a big seed to the subconscious mind of the viewer. But anyways, he's dancing with the "Everything Must Go" sign on a busy street in New York, Gotham in the movie. And we see that Arthur is very committed to his clown role and his dance. He's all in. The way he smiles, and the way he's just putting everything he has into it. Even though no one is really noticing him, except the bullies when he gets to that. But that it's I don't know, tiny scene, but it has so much information in it, and it's all collaborations. Not only Joaquin, I think it's. I don't know if I should be even talking a lot about his acting, because we all know, like, it's obvious, like, mind blowing, fucking amazing, fucking. I'm boycotting the Oscars if he doesn't win one for that. But what makes it so beautiful, it's a symphony. The filmmaking is a symphony. It's a collaboration of so many people in order to to hit it on the nail with a message. And it's such a small scene. And here's another thing with me: when I watch movies, I can tell within the first, 2 to 5 minutes if the movie's gonna suck or if it's gonna be good. And that's only by the technical aspects of it. I don't have to wait for the story to develop, but camera choices, lighting choice, even extras in the background, I can tell where the movie's going to go, if it's going to be good or not. And I remember this shot. That's the first time when I was like, okay, so this has some weight, because you feel. I mean, if you're looking at the technical aspect of it. You feel the what's the word? Like I said, it's a symphony. So you feel the not the collaboration, but how everyone is on the same, hitting the same notes at the same time, if that makes sense. Think of like symphony playing. If one violin is off, it's not the same. So that was the first scene where I saw how much there was invested in extras in the background, in the city. It's a time period as well, so it's 80s with so many cars from the 80s, and there was so much attention to detail. It's just good news when you see that in the first few seconds of a movie. Now, many people don't know that, all this attention to detail. Most people don't notice it, but that's what makes a good movie. That's what's beautiful about cinema. Things in the background can ruin it for you, and you don't even know why. It's like you're eating something that doesn't taste all that great. You don't know why. You can't say. Might have too much salt or not enough salt or whatever. That's how it is with movies. With me, it might be a bad thing, but I overanalyze everything. But when it's a good movie, and that's why I love seeing it over and over again, it just sucks me in that I forget to look for all the technical stuff. But anyways, I hope I'm not just getting off track here and boring you with we're still the first few seconds of the movie. But anyways, so yeah, he's dancing, police chase him, they beat him, and after he's being beaten up in the alley, he's laying on the ground in pain. Then he slightly reaches for the broken sign as if he wants to fix it. I don't know if you noticed that. He kind of reaches with his hand before he's in more pain because he's moving his hand. But that's a lot of information, subconscious information about the character, that he's trying to fix things as much as he's on the ground and he's being beaten up. But then, he sees that the sign is in pieces. So he pulls his hand back to his chest. Then he reaches under his jacket and he squeezes the water bladder. He has a flower on his jacket, and then he squeezes the water bladder where the water is pouring out of the flower that's on his jacket. So two things on that. One, he still holds on to his sense of humor. And this, I didn't make this up. This one I heard from Todd Phillips and Joaquin talk about it. That was a choice that Joaquin made. It wasn't planned. And then when he talked about it after they shot this scene, that's what Joaquin was talking about. That's like he's still trying to make fun of it, even though he's on the ground in pain. The show kind of somehow must go on, and it also shows that at an early stage of the story, he finds comedy in tragedy. And then the second thing is that the flower is kind of like spilling water, is like his soul is bleeding on the ground. Anyways, it's too dramatic, but I loved it. Then we're introduced to the second most important character in the journey that's to come, which is my favorite, my second favorite character in this movie, which is the cello, the music. To me, the cello in this music is a crucial character in the movie. It's like Arthur's shadow. Not only that, it kind of takes us by the hand throughout this fascinating journey, Arthur's journey. yeah, I'll dive. I guess I think in specific scenes I'll talk more about the music, but I can't remember many movies. Well, I guess pretty much all the great ones. The music is kind of like a character in the movie. But here in Joker, the the music really takes you by the hand. It really guides you to where to go with your emotions and feelings. And it's so aligned with Arthur, with the character, that I see it as, I think the second time I saw it, I was like, oh my god, the music is Arthur's shadow, literally, but it's an audible form, so we're with the character even audibly, not just visually. Um, and I'll go into details visually, why visually we're with the character. Um, Maybe I should do it now, and then we'll just run through the movie. But anyways, Lawrence, the cinematographer, what makes a good cinematographer, like David Fincher is good at this too. Martin Scorsese, Spielberg is great at those things. It's the movement of the camera that's the same beats of the character. But not only that, a good cinematographer needs to know when to draw you in and when to let you breathe, if that makes any sense. And I remember from the first time I saw the movie, that's one of the things that I loved, cinematography wise, what Lawrence did there. Because in order for us to connect with the character, there were many close ups, like extreme close ups, and sometimes in very uncomfortable moments. And what's so interesting, and this is what makes a good cinematographer, like a freaking poet, visual poet, as I call it. It's the choices that he made, that sometimes to stay so close to Arthur, like in his face, even when there's silence or when there's an awkward moment, but he left us there on purpose to make us feel the uncomfort that Arthur feels. But he didn't stay too long. Many directors use that technique, but they don't have the timing right. Sometimes they stay too long. Sometimes they pull out too early. That's what she said. Hold on, let me find that. Anyways, yeah. So Lawrence is phenomenal when it comes to that. It just the timing with the character and the storyline is just phenomenal. So on top of that, add the audible layer of music, and put those together with the choices that Todd Phillips made of where to put the camera, when to move it, blocking and all that. It's just fucking a masterpiece of symphony. Everything just works like a clock. Anyways, so yeah, that's the music, and that's what I fucking love about the music. Not only it's the right choice, but it's a character in the movie, basically. Bottom line. Anyways, after this beat up in the chase, the title hits us in the face, edge to edge, full screen, like covers the whole screen, and that's I guess that's an homage to the whole energy of the cinema from late 70s, early 80s. Titles were kind of like that. Which also brings me to the point, if you haven't heard by now, that I forgot to say this when I was talking about the God of Hollywood, about Scorsese. Todd Phillips, also Scorsese is one of his biggest heroes. So he's very influenced. And that's something I picked up when I first saw the movie, that I was like, it's very much influenced by Scorsese. And it doesn't take long before you realize that it's influenced a lot from Taxi Driver, Scorsese's Taxi Driver. And you haven't seen that, you got to see that movie. And the second movie that it's kind of like it pays homage to is another Scorsese's movies, The King of Comedy, which is also a must see if you haven't seen it. One of the greats. But it really ties into this movie because Robert De Niro is king of comedy. But I'm not going to get into that. You can research that, find the whole King of Comedy and Joker homage, whatever. But anyway, so Todd is you could feel that in the movie that Todd is very much influenced by Scorsese, but the way he's telling the story, but also by the way he created Hollywood. I'm saying New York or Gotham City, if you want to be specific. But the way he created New York and the attention to detail, and with all the extras and cars from that time period, it's very very Scorsese-like. If that makes sense. So yeah, so title, and then we cut to a close-up of Arthur's painful, weird, uncomfortable laugh. And that goes on for a few seconds. We're trying to figure out what the hell is going on. And the close-up is just, as I was talking before, the timing is so right. It's right there. It's enough to make us feel a little bit uncomfortable, and then it pulls up to a medium shot, and then it pulls up to a master shot where you see the whole room and you see the counselor that is sitting across from, but we still don't know what's up with the laugh. Like, but the way it opens up Arthur's world, like from inside out, and we're still just like less than a minute into the movie, maybe 2 minutes. It's just brilliant. And then the set design I loved throughout the whole movie, but in this scene, in this master shot, Arthur is very small and he's surrounded by piles and piles of paperwork and boxes, and which is also to portray how alone he is in this messy world that he lives in. I don't know. Should I jump into post-production, color correction? Because even in this scene, I don't know, all the choices that they did with the lighting and the colors, the color palette throughout the movie is, again, it's so aligned with everything else, with the camera work, with the acting, with the music. Just, I don't know. Sometimes I get so excited I don't know what to say. But anyways, like I said, we're up close with Arthur in that uncomfortable moment. I don't know, I probably should start moving quicker because I've been talking too long, and this is just the opening of the movie. But yeah, so also the wardrobe, good choices with that time period and of Arthur, and this Arthur's wardrobe was pretty much worked together with his with the wardrobe crew and him, that they seen many videos of mentally ill individuals, specifically with that laugh. I forgot what you call that. That illness of that uncontrollable laugh. But anyways, Joaquin was talking about that they chose a wardrobe after seeing so many videos of mentally ill individuals who live that type of lifestyle of loneliness. So the wardrobe, again, is hit on the nail. I'm trying to go step by step. And then we see Arthur after he met with the counselor, riding the bus back home. And then that's the scene with the little boy that he's trying to make him laugh, and he's making all these goofy faces. yeah, and then I don't know. That scene was great too, with the extras and the close up with the interaction with Arthur and the child, and then the mother goes in, and that's when they go to a medium shot. So it kind of like we start inwards, like close with Arthur, and then we kind of zoom out, and we become the voyeur of witnessing his misery, if you will. Um, So that was a great scene on the bus, and the pacing of everything, the cinematography and the music and the whole script and the acting is just phenomenal. Just one scene that the first time I saw it, I was like, fucking wow. Like everything is so solid. Like you're already stirred up with different emotions about this whole thing, and you don't know much about the character yet. And then he walks home. The way he walks, we see him limp a little bit. The body language that he worked on, I mean, I'm not going to mention the fact that he lost 50 pounds for this role, but the body language, the way he walks, the way he's slouching, it says everything about the character in his life. And then he gets home to his mom, and I remember the first time I saw it, I love the fact that the lighting changes. I don't know if you notice, all the scenes in his house are tungsten light. They're warm lights with his mom. So you have that warm feeling environment, that safety feeling of, I guess that the character feels when he's home. But you also have the same color palette that we have throughout the movie. It's the greens and the blues, which is cold and distant and whatnot. Set design is amazing. The whole apartment, the whole house, everything else, all that stuff, just amazing. Attention to detail, you can see it in every shot. I always say a good movie, you can pause at any frame and it's almost as a painting. And that's what the Joker is. Anyways, so we see that he's kind of taking care of his mom. And before he goes up to the apartment, he checks the mail. So we already they instill the seed of the mail thing with his mom, of waiting for the letter from what's his name, Wayne. And then they watch TV together, and Arthur they watch the Murray Show, which is a late night talk show, and Murray is Arthur's idol. But that has a lot to do with the fact that he's looking for a father figure, and the beginning of the movie, the father figure that he's fantasizing about is Murray. It's the talk show host, which is played by Robert De Niro. So this is the first time that we're introduced into the mind of Arthur. And it's a beautiful, smooth transition of when him and his mother watch the show, the Murray Show. And then we see Arthur in the audience, and he starts interacting with the host. And everything that goes on, it's in Arthur's mind. The scene ends with Murray telling him, "I wish I had a son like you. Like everything is worthless, all this lights and fame." And then they hug. And in this moment where you feel like, okay, this is a cool fantasy for Arthur, like something that would make him feel happy. But in this moment, the other character goes in, and that's the cello. Now, I think most directors, just a simple example of something like this, they would, throw in an uplifting tune to make us feel like, oh, Arthur feels happy when he fantasizes about such things. And over here, Todd Phillips decided to contrast it with, it's a happy moment, but the reality that it's sad because it's a fantasy, and that's what the cello is telling us when they hug. It's fascinating. Like, so it's the small details that I look at that I'm like, fucking wow, what an amazing choice. Anyways, and then we see Arthur as he's working at his clown job place. His other clown buddy tells him, "I heard you got beat up." We see him bruised and all that, and gives him a gun. And I love the line, "You know that I'm not supposed to have a gun." For me, this little line, if we're going politics, it's that line says everything about mental illness and gun control in the States. He says the way he says it too, it's like, I'm not supposed to have a gun. That's why the media went crazy about it. There's a lot of messages that are so like current with society and with us, with humanity. It has so much, and I think that's why it made many people freak out, because it's a mirror to ourselves, and many people felt uncomfortable with that, seeing the ugly truth about many things that this movie kind of throws in your face. But anyways, I love that scene. He says, I'm not supposed to have a gun, but he says, no one has to know. Gave him the gun. And then he goes into the office. The boss wants to talk to him. And I think that's the first time that he had that laugh when he walked towards his boss's office. And that the way he just stopped that laugh. That's the first time when I was like, yeah, this is Oscar-worthy acting. And the movie just started. Anyways, the boss gives him shit for losing the sign. He doesn't believe the story that he, got beat up, and like, who would rob anyone for a sign or whatever. So we have this scene of this boss just yapping at him and giving him shit. And then the sound of his boss kind of fades out. And as the camera slowly zooms in to Arthur, to a close-up, with a smile, and he's like, glass eyes of, I don't know, that look just says, what does the world want from me? How come no one understands me? And he's wearing a mask. He's kind of fake smiling, like he's listening. But the music and the camera movement tells us what he's thinking about. And then the next scene, he's like viciously kicking garbage bags in the alley. Behind the scenes story about that, actually Joaquin misplaced his knee because he kicked it so hard. And after that scene, they took him to the hospital, and throughout the whole movie, he was pretty much injured on his knee. And this is from Todd Phillips' interviews, that they were so scared that it's going to affect, because there's a lot of running and action sequences, that they were afraid that it's going to affect the movie. And they were blown away by Joaquin's commitment with all the pain that he had for the rest of the movie. He was fully committed. Another story that Lawrence Sher, the cinematographer, talks about is after the subway shooting, they shot this long scene of Joaquin running like a madman. And this was after the knee injury. And Lawrence is saying this, telling the story of that they started shooting. He told Joaquin, like, let's just run a few yards, and then I can chop it up and make it look like you're. And Joaquin's like, fuck no. Like, Arthur is like in panic, and he fucking runs like hell. And he insisted that he's going to run for a long time to get that scene right. Which brings me to the point of talking about the run, the way he runs. I can't remember. I want to say Scorsese, but I think it's just because I'm biased. But I can't remember which director said that. But many years ago, I think it was in the film school, I heard this saying. A director talked about characters' run can say so much about the personality and the type of a character. Like, it has so much importance of the way a character runs. We also delved into that in acting when I was in performing arts or in theater. But in theater, you don't run that much. But anyways, it's one of the things that I think it's amazing to see him run. Quite a few scenes where Arthur runs, and his run is just I don't want to say mind blowing again, but I can't think of anything else. It's just so immaculate the way he created this character. Yeah, so I think after that, that's where Arthur goes home, and that's in the elevator where he runs into his neighbor. Forgot the actress name, ZZ something, that plays the neighbor. Anyways, that's the first thing that made me smile. They were in the elevator, and her daughter is kind of like talking about something. I can't remember what it was. And then she looks at Arthur and does the gun to the head motion with her fingers, like she's shooting herself. And if you've seen Taxi Driver, that's how. Well, I'm not going to say what part of the movie. I don't want to ruin Taxi Driver for you, but it's so obvious that it's a homage to Taxi Driver. Because it's iconic in Taxi Driver, that movement with the fingers gun to the head. Anyways, loved it. Loved the whole the fact that they shot on location, the apartment, the hallways, elevator. It's not soundstage. It's all authentic and real and raw and dirty and old and fucking beautiful. And again, the way they bounce lights off the walls to create, the claustrophobic feeling with the greens and the blues, the color palette. But once they're in the elevator, again, we're going to tungsten lights, which are warm a little bit, which already connects us with the female character in the elevator. So, yeah, lighting choices, everything is just fucking there. It's like playing a symphony. I keep saying that, but that's what it is. Then Arthur's with his mom at his house. That's the part where she tells him, don't you have to be funny in order to be a comedian or something like that, where you realize the mom is maybe unintentionally, but she's kind of emotionally abusive towards Arthur. And then this beautiful scene in the living room when he's playing with the gun and he gets up and starts to dance. And that's, I think, the first time where you see like how much weight he lost. He became a skeleton for this movie. But again, we got the vignette type of shot when he's in the living room with the tungsten light in the center. He's dancing with the gun and, fooling around. What's your name? What's my name? Which is also kind of reminded me King of Comedy, which Todd doesn't hide the fact that he's very much influenced when it comes to shooting Joker. He's very much influenced with Taxi Driver and King of Comedy. Yeah. And then I think that's the scene where he follows his neighbor to work. And then basically nothing happened, but that's a scene that they deleted because he walks into the bank and he's trying to open a bank account. They talked about it briefly, but then they deleted that scene. So I don't know much about that. But anyways, he just follows her, and then after he follows her, it's after he follows her, I think it's one of my favorite scenes. Not only me, many people who watched it say it's one of their favorite scenes. It's the comedy club, where you see Arthur at a comedy club sitting with a notebook and trying to jot down some notes because he wants to be a comedian. Yeah, this scene is phenomenal for two reasons. This one, I would say, so many scenes that are pulled off. You can see that the weight of the scene is of Lawrence and Joaquin. It's cinematographer and actor, and that's a great example of it. Anyways, the camera kind of like zooms in through the crowd towards Arthur, but really slow. And while the camera is zooming in, Arthur is listening to the comedian, and he's so off when he's laughing. He's so off from the audience. Like the audience are laughing, he's not laughing. They're not laughing, he's laughing. And that tells us so much about the character, that he's not in sync with society. He doesn't know when to laugh, for example. But that scene also has so much information, most of it probably subconsciously. Maybe many people don't realize it, but of who, of his messed up mind, of his mental illness, of how he doesn't connect with society. He doesn't get jokes, stuff like that. But Joaquin does it so fucking well, because when they laugh, his eyeballs kind of move to the side, like, what are they laughing about? And then he's trying to laugh with them, and it's a fake laugh. And when he's really laughing, it's not a funny moment. Like, the audience is not laughing. And the laugh that he does is just amazing. And then the continuity beautifully transitions to, from him jotting down notes at the comedy club, cut to him jotting down notes at home. And let me see if I remember. It's also a famous quote that people talk about in the movie. It's something like, the worst part of having a mental illness is people expect you to behave as if you don't, which is in your face quote for society when it comes to mental illness, which is goosebumps when I read it from his notebook. Again, the worst part of having a mental illness is people expect you to behave as if you don't. Again, that's, I'm sure, made people feel uncomfortable without probably knowing why, but that's a huge mirror to society's face about mental illness. Anyways, he's jotting down notes. Knock at the door, and it's his neighbor. She's asking him if he followed her. He said yes. They're kind of joking about it. She said, you should have robbed the place. He's like, oh, I have a gun. Maybe I can come by tomorrow. She says, you're funny. And then he tells her about his ambitions to become a comedian, and he invites her. He tells her to come by sometime to see him do comedy. She's like, yeah, let me know. And she goes away. And then cut to another wonderful scene of him dressed up as a clown in a children's hospital. So he's doing like a performance for children. The scene is so well made. First of all, it's, I think, one of the few scenes that is so well lit. I remember that. Children's hospital, fluorescent lights. It gives us the energy and the vibe of work and reality. But I also loved the fact that in that scene, every time when we see him as the clown, when he's working as a clown, he's very committed to the dance, to the way to his moves, which shows us the humanity side of Arthur, that he is committed to something. He puts all of himself into something, until the point where the gun slips out of his pants or something, falls on the floor. He's embarrassed. It's a funny / embarrassing moment. Fucking amazing scene. Right after that, it's cut to the phone booth scene. Arthur still dressed as a clown, in a public phone booth talking to his boss, and his boss is firing him for bringing a gun, even though he's trying to tell him it's a prop, it's a part of my act. But I think that's the first time that we see Arthur's world starting to fall apart. And then he slams his head to the phone booth glass and shatters it. Again, the cinematography here is phenomenal. Starts with a close up when he's on the phone. And it pulls out right on time. And then that scene with the whole city with the garbage bags. Throughout the movie, we see tons of garbage bags, which is in line with, what goes on in the news or whatever they're talking about, garbage piling up in the city. But all the attention to the detail is amazing. So after that, that's I guess probably the transition from Act 1 to Act 2. That's Arthur on the subway train, still dressed as a clown, going back home after he got fired. Heard the news, sitting in the subway train, kind of upset, and then the camera pans into discovering the three bullies, the Wall Street dudes on the train, kind of bullying a chick. They're bugging a woman on the train. But I love how the camera stays on him for a little bit to show that he's upset after he's fired or whatever, and then we hear the guys in the background, and the camera just pans slowly into the guys, and then the way it's shot, it's amazing. Arthur is still in frame, but he's not in focus while the camera's focusing on the guys. So it puts us in a position where we're sitting right next to Arthur, which is a amazing choice to shoot. I mean, it's so subtle, but oh my God, it's so effective. It's one of those moments where I picked up on, okay, so they want us to be with Arthur, right? And this is where people kind of feel uncomfortable that say, okay, this movie glorifies or makes you sympathize with a psychopath. But anyways, great shots in that scene. And then obviously we all know when he gets uncomfortable or nervous, he gets that laugh, starts to laugh, and that gets the attention of the guys. They start picking up on him. They beat him up. He pulls out the gun, shoots two of them, injures one of them. He starts running out. And this is the first time that we see Arthur actually the transition from a victim to predator. After he kills the two guys, you see him actually chasing the third wounded guy and shooting him down. Now, in this scene, I don't know if anyone does that, but sometimes when I see scenes of shooting specifically with a revolver, I count the bullets. I every time I watch a movie, I count the bullets. There's 6 shots in a revolver. So in this scene, there are actually 8 shots. But this movie is so detailed and there's so much attention is paid to the detail of everything here. Where I was like, there's no way Todd missed that it's 8 shots. And this later on, I found out, I don't know, it might be rumors. Neither Todd Phillips or Lawrence, the cinematographer, or Joaquin, they don't give up much information, and that's intentional because they like the whole guessing thing. There's so many guesses of so many things of this movie, which I'll get into later. But anyways, many people say it's intentional because it's not real. If you remember the movie, how the movie ends. So that's why there are 8 shots, because it's all in his head. And many say that's the first clue to tell us that it's not real. But who knows? It might be, just something they overlooked. There were 8 shots in the gun. Anyways, he killed the third guy, and he starts running like hell. that scene is amazing. They shot it. It's an outdoor shot. The whole running scene with the music, lighting, editing, everything sits so amazing. And yeah, that goes into one of my favorite scenes in the movie. He runs into a public bathroom, closes the door behind him, and he finds a way to kind of calm down and relax. It's he has this dance. So at the beginning of this podcast, I was talking about when Todd Phillips played the music on set in order to create the energy of what goes on in the scene. So in this one, obviously from hearing interviews, this is not me guessing, but Todd Phillips was talking about that scene, that it's actually only Lawrence and Joaquin in that bathroom scene. They're the only ones in there, and the music is played in the background. So Joaquin is actually hearing the music that we, the audience, hear. It's the same track, the cello track with the dance. But Lawrence is actually dancing with him with the camera. It's just, I don't know. I don't know how to put it in words. It's just fucking amazing. It's just I don't know, so visually artistic that. So obviously there's a fluorescent light in that bathroom, but you can tell that it's in post production that they made it a bit green, and there's one tungsten light above the mirror, but that creates the contrast of warmth and loneliness and fear. And they threw in the tungsten lights in there because, and they're small lights, and this is me guessing it, but I don't know, I'm sure it's obviously intentional. Those slight tungsten lights, it's showing like the Joker is starting to come out from within Arthur, because he finally stood up for himself. So there's a spark there. I think this scene is basically the spark that started the fire of Joker coming out from Arthur. But anyways, that's a scene that's phenomenal. That dance there and the way it's shot. And obviously they made a huge poster of it, of Lawrence shooting it from below the chin. He brings the camera down while Joaquin looks up. And we have a lot of negative space from his head above. The play here, I don't know if I should, I probably shouldn't. I'm going on for too long anyways, but I was thinking of getting into details of cinematography jargon, negative space, positive space, and all that. But let's skip that for now. Maybe I'll do that some other time. Be more technical. Anyways, cut to the scene. He goes home. And what a great choice of him walking down the hallway of his from his house from his apartment towards his neighbor's apartment. That hallway walk, the camera's right behind him, and it's shot 120p, 120 frames per second, which is it's not really even slow motion. It's just slower, but amazing. The whole walk, it's one shot, one fluid shot of the whole walking down the hall, knock at the door opens, he just walks in and kisses her. Now I remember when that happened, this is the first time when I was like, I don't know if I could believe that she would let him kind of kiss him, and so that's the first time I was like, might be pushing it a little bit with the relationship with the neighbor. Anyways, then we go back to Arthur at work, packing up, taking his shit before he basically fired. And I love that part where he walks out. I forgot what they argued. They talked something about the gun. Oh, the clown in the subway, the rumor that, it it's a clown who killed those 3 people, something like that. And I think this is the part where we also see that Arthur's clown buddy kind of almost knows that it's him because he gave him a gun the day before, and obviously he's a clown. But anyways, I love the part where he walks out of there and he has like a spray can in his hand. While he's going down the stairs, there's a sign, don't forget to smile, and he sprays out forget. So it's don't smile. Just a great touch, which I don't know, those little things that you're like fucking Todd thought of everything. Then he goes home, and then we see the news about the killing, and then Thomas Wayne is thinking of running for mayor. This is the part where he says, this is the part where actually we kind of feel the division of the rich and poor in society, where Thomas Wayne says only a coward would kill people just because they're rich and they have money, because of those Wall Street guys. But he also says something like only a clown. I don't know. He talks about the lower class, they're clowns or something like that. It's I forgot what he said, but it was in our face of what goes on in society, the division between the rich and the middle class and the poor, and how the rich think, the poor are there because it's by choice or whatever. I can't remember if that's the scene where we see basically the movement started of against the rich people wearing clown masks and the media. So that's a great example also of the media, how they take something and they create something from nothing. It's a whole movement was created when that wasn't Arthur's intention, of against the rich and whatnot. And because the media talks about it, that actually created that movement. So people started wearing clown masks and protesting out the streets or whatever. So yeah, I think that's the scene where you see in the news one of the protesters holding a sign saying "We're all clowns." I don't know. I just love it. I think it's so. The underlying message is so powerful. So yeah, Arthur is starting to kind of enjoy it. He's smiling. He lays back on the couch. He's smiling, and obviously, the lighting at this scene changes. It's all warm, tungsten light. It's daylight. That warm energy that is in his house and whatnot. After that, I think it cuts to him at the meeting with the therapist again. She's cutting him off. There's no budget. They're cutting us off, and no medication as well. So another mirror to society, of us neglecting the less fortunate while the rich are getting richer. We're cutting off and turning our backs into the less fortunate. So that's why people, I think, took it personally, but either to a good place or a bad place. Many people were against it. Some loved it, but I think that's the beauty of art piece. Stirs emotions, good or bad, but that's art. Anyways, I think after that he's actually taking a shot at comedy, and he's at the comedy club. His neighbor / girlfriend is the audience. He's getting that laughter attack every time he's uncomfortable or nervous. That's when he's getting that laughter attack. And you have a scene here which I see so many directors would make so many different choices, and I just couldn't believe the choices that Todd and Lawrence made in that scene in the club. The spotlight on his face is bright white. It's a bit too bright. It's a bit hot on his face, and that gives you that harsh feeling of what he's feeling, and the tungsten light or whatever that's behind him. But this, not only the silence of the audience, but we have again the cello coming in there. When he's trying to laugh and say a joke, and then the cello comes in, and you feel bad for him. You feel the pain that he's feeling. Again, a symphony. It's like every note is hit beautifully. And then we have a shot of behind him where the spotlight hits the camera lens. Amazing. After that, I think that's the scene where he walks with his neighbor / girlfriend down the street, and he sees the headlines of a killer clown on the loose, something like that. And that's when she throws like she walks. She's like, "Good, 3 assholes dead, 1 million to go," something like that. And that's when you're like, "Uh-oh." She's encouraging him, but obviously she doesn't know she's encouraging him. But anyways, after that, I think which scene is that he goes home. Oh, he comes back from a date. He picks up a dance from his mom. He's in a good mood. And he helps his mom go to bed. She asks him to mail the letter to Thomas Wayne. He opens the letter and he finds out that Thomas Wayne is his father. And that's why she keeps writing him that she wants money to help him. So we have 3 beautiful transitions here. One, he's happy, he comes home, he's dancing with his mom. We got the Murray show in the background. He takes his mom to the room. The Murray show ends, and that's the ending music of Murray show stays for, I think, like a full minute, where he opens the letter. When he opens the letter, the music from the TV ends, and the cello comes back in as he's opening the letter. We see parts of the letter, and we find out that his mom wrote to Wayne, "Your son needs you," and whatnot. He finds out that Thomas Wayne is his father. Then he has a little fight with his mom. I don't know, an argument that he wanted to know. After that, he goes to Thomas Wayne's house. He meets Bruce Wayne. And this is the beauty of it. I mean, we have a little bit of hints from the comic book Batman. We got Bruce Wayne and the Waynes and Gotham and all that. But this movie stands on its own. It's funny, the first time I saw it, I went with my dad. And he had no clue that it has anything to do with a Batman. That's how good this movie is. Anyways. So yeah, he fucks with the kid a little bit. This is when we're starting to realize, like, oh shit, the Joker and Batman are brothers. One of the guards comes out, fucks with Joker, Arthur tells him to fuck off. Arthur tells him, he's my dad. He tells him his mom was sick, psycho, it's not true, all that stuff. And then he goes back home. His mom had a stroke or something. He goes to the hospital with her. Again, I don't want to go into too much details, but the cinematography from the ambulance carrying the mother out into the ambulance. He steps into the ambulance. The camera stays out, and as the ambulance starts to drive away, the streets and the lighting and everything, it's just phenomenal. Like the attention to the detail. Also the exterior shots of the hospital, of Arthur sitting outside the hospital, how they lit the street, and the post-production choices that they did with the color palette is phenomenal. So detectives show up, they talk to him. He goes back up to the hospital with his girlfriend. She asks him if he wants coffee, and she walks away. The Murray show goes up on TV. It starts, and that's where he finds out that he's on TV. And seconds after that, he finds out that actually Murray is making fun of him. where he shows the scene of him being at the comedy club. And then I think it's another one of my favorite shots in the movie where it cuts to him alone at home in his mom's bed because his mom is in the hospital. But one shot with so much detail. It's a bird's point of view shot, like from the ceiling. He's laying on the bed. You have the newspaper with the headline of Killer Clown on the Loose or whatever. His cigarettes, the phone and the lamp from the 80s, like the ashtray filled with cigarettes and the gun. It's so detailed, you can almost smell the apartment. It's just phenomenal. Production designer did a great job as well. And then it's watching on TV, seeing all the riots and the protests and whatnot. He goes to the theater to meet with. He sneaks into a theater where a Charlie Chaplin movie is playing, and the whole plan is to meet with Thomas Wayne. I'm realizing I'm just basically going step by step with the movie, not talking much about the underlying. I hope I'm not fucking boring you. Maybe I should move quicker. So yeah, he has an argument with Thomas Wayne. He tells him that he's his father, he's his son. It's kind of an emotional scene where you see Arthur, his hunger for a father figure. And so this is where Thomas Wayne tells him his mom is crazy and he's adopted. So I think it's one of those parts of the movie is, again, that you're like questioning, wondering which is true. So over here, I love there's a awesome continuity in this part where he punches Arthur and he leans forward with his hands on the sink, and it cuts to him at the same pose at his house when he's leaning forward with his hands on the counter. That's not only a beautiful transition and great continuity, but the shot at his home, he basically empties out the refrigerator and just goes inside, I guess, because it's really hot and they probably don't have air conditioning in the house. But the lighting in this part is amazing because the kitchen is all blues and greens and the tungsten lights are coming from outside the street. So again, this is subconsciously what the director, the cinematographer, and the grip crew are creating, is that up until this moment, the tungsten light was in his house. That's the only place where he felt comfortable and cozy. And this is the first time, and I remember it jumped at me, that the color palette actually flipped, where the tungsten lights are outside the streets, bouncing off the curtains, and inside the house it's only blues and greens when he walks into goes into the fridge to sit in the fridge. And I remember when I saw it the first time, I was like, okay, there's something flips here. I'm not sure what it is when I saw it the first time, but there's a major flip here. Basically, that's when he heard for the first time that he's adopted, his mom's crazy, and all that stuff. So his world is turning upside down. And they punch you in the face with this 30-second shot with all of that, and it's subconscious. That's art, ladies and gentlemen. That's something that's what makes good cinema. And the majority of the audience, of the viewers, don't know anything about lighting, about editing, cinematography, but it stirs, like the neurons are so fired up, it stirs so much. in the viewer's brain without them knowing about it. Just with that scene. Yeah. And then the camera slowly kind of starts to move forward towards the refrigerator, towards the window. And then there's an L cut to him lying down, and the phone rings, and it's from the Murray show, one of Murray's assistants. I think she's asking him, Murray wants to have you at the show because he played his clip and people loved it or whatnot, loved laughing at him. Anyways, after that, I think that's when he goes to the mental hospital to find out about his past, his mother. So also this time he's sitting in the bus alone. Also great shot of him riding the bus. And then he gets to Arkham Hospital. The hospital is an awesome scene of him trying to, at the hospital's clerk who pulled out his file and started telling him like what's on his file, and that's the clerk starts to read the information in the file, and he actually reads out that the mother was abusive to her young child or whatnot, and then he stopped and he's like, wait, you said that was your mother and I can't give you this, blah blah blah. Arthur grabs it. That scene where after he grabbed the file and that shot where he runs down the hallway, it's amazing shot. I don't know, I love it. I can't wait to have it like on video. I was gonna say DVD, but where I can actually rewind and rewatch, analyze the shit out of every angle and shot and light bulb in the background. But anyways, he runs it to the staircase, a stairwell, and he opens the folder and he reads and he finds out that he's actually adopted. His mom was a psychopath. Amazing scene. The way it's done, it's with the music, with not gonna break. I don't remember. That's the thing. But I just fucking remember the shots of telling us what he just found out and the impact that it had on him. It just the way it's shot with the music, it's just like a sledgehammer landing on your brain. I love that moment where basically whatever he's reading, they actually created a scene of a therapist talking to his mom when his mom was young, and he's actually there in the room listening. It's just fucking amazing. And the therapist is kind of out of focus, but he's still in frame. All that uncomfort in the frame, the uncomfortable framing of the shot makes us feel uncomfortable and makes us feel his pain. Amazing shot. And then the music picks up. We got trombones with the cello. Great choice of adding rain, and that's when he walks to his house. So we have him walking outside, the rain, tears, crying, and that's the transition from him crying after he read the folder. So his tears, we cut to heavy rain out in the street, and the way he walks, he's much slouchier and he walks slower. He just got punched again by life. Life just, elbowed his face pretty much. But yeah, even then with the rain and the shot outside, we still have tons of garbage bags, filled garbage bags in the background. But fuck, yeah, the lighting with the rain and the walk, amazing. And then he walks into the house, great continuity with the hair still wet, which I can't tell you how many movies when they walk in from a rainy day outside and they're wet, and then they walk into the apartment and their hair is dry or semi-dry. So many movies where it just drives me crazy. So that's another twist in the movie, which I loved. He goes into his neighbor's house. He walks in, sits there. She walks out. She freaks out, and that's when you realize that actually all the relationship that he had with her, it was all in his head. It's not true. And that's when I was like, okay, so when I felt that it doesn't make sense, why would she would be with him? That even made it so much more perfect. I'm like, fuck, this movie's so good. So that was a nice twist. You'll hear many people talk in social media, YouTube or whatever. They say that he killed her because it doesn't show anything. It just shows him walking from her apartment back to his apartment hallway, and then his in his house in the living room. So many people say that he killed her. Some even say now Todd, many times that he's in his house, that he added sirens in the background to create that energy of the crime-ridden neighborhood that he lives in. So many people say, yeah, after he walked in his house, you can hear an ambulance and you see the kind of ambulance light bounce through the window. So that's like a sign that he killed his neighbor. My guess is that he didn't, and I'll tell you why in a minute. And the next scene is he goes to the hospital and kills his mom. That's when he says the line that many people love. I used to think my life is a tragedy. Now I know it's a comedy, while he's killing his mom. Yeah, so harsh scene. And then he goes home, and this is where we have the scene from. Now I remember. If you've seen King of Comedy, that really reminded me King of Comedy. Arthur is practicing because he's going on the Murray show that same night, so he's practicing how to talk to Murray, how to come out. So he's watching on a VHS recordings of Murray show and guests coming out, and then he runs to the bedroom and walks out like he's introduced and talking to Murray like he's starting the interview or whatnot. And then he tells Murray, "You want to hear a joke? Knock, knock, who's there?" And he's kind of like shooting himself. So that's when we're thinking that he's going to probably kill himself on the Murray show. And also that's the first time where we see him kind of dressed up, which is great. Like how like everything is put together so well, right? Because he's supposed to be on the Murray show. That's why he's dressed up. But that's also Joker creeping out of Arthur. And then in this scene, this is the first time that his house is lit with cooler lights. You see less tungsten light and more natural light. I'm sorry, not cooler light. Because I remember I was surprised, like, why would they do this during the day? But again, it's Joker starting to creep out, and it starts to be starting to be clearer for Arthur. He's starting to find his place, and that's what I love about it. The lighting tells us that in the background. Obviously, not only the lighting, it's a full dance and a symphony that everything has to do with it. Of course, cinematography, acting, and all that. But some scenes, the lighting is dominant and pushing the message. Some the music, some the cinematography. But it's just amazing. Yeah, so after he's preparing for the Murray show, he's dressed or whatnot, and then it cuts to an amazing scene, also shot in 120 frames per second, kind of slow motion of him dyeing his hair and dancing in the bathroom. It's a great scene, great scene. That's also See how skinny he is or whatnot. After that, he's painting his face white with. Then he runs the brush on his tongue. I love that. It's a nice little touch. Knock on the door. Two of his friends show up from work, and yeah, that's the scene where he kills one of them. And I guess that's kind of predictable because they're not hiding the fact that he might have bad intentions, because when there's a knock on the door, the camera actually zooms in to Arthur's hand putting the scissors in his pocket before he opens the door. So it's a great hint, intentional hint, to tell us that something might go down. And obviously it does. Now, in this scene, and this is what makes a good director a phenomenal director, in every scene, technically, Todd and Lawrence and Joaquin are very artistic. They're very articulate visually. I don't know if the word is bold, but like it's very they stepped out of the box in almost every single shot and continuity and all that. And this is the first time the murder scene where he killed one of his coworkers, where they kind of stuck to the formula of film school, if you will. Nothing fancy, no fancy shots, no fancy camera movements. The only thing that I loved about the scene is that the choice that they made, that the camera stayed with Arthur the whole time after that murder. So we hear his friend, his other guy, freaking out in the background, but we don't see him. We're still with Arthur with the blood splatter on his face. I think that's a great choice, because it's a mixture of the horror of the scene, seeing the blood and all that, but also we're still with Arthur, and I think that's a great choice. Doesn't matter how horrific it is, we're with Arthur. They don't cut. I think they cut to the other guy for 2 seconds when he's like crying and freaking out, but we hear him in the background like, what the fuck? Why'd you kill him? What'd you do? And then Arthur tells him you can leave, and that's when the camera actually cuts to forgot what's the other guy's name. He's a midget and he's trying to go outside and doesn't reach the lock. And that's what everybody in the theater laughs. Every time I saw it, it gets a laugh. It is funny, and it's also, maybe it's not funny, but you know what I mean. It's also, I like that relief that it creates after this whole scene. And it's another thing that I forgot to mention. What I love about the pacing of this movie, the timing of stress and release. It's a common thing that you'll hear in filmmaking, stress and release. The timing is perfect. So over here you have like a big release when he's trying to reach the lock of the door and to open the door. Anyways, Arthur lets him out, but before he lets him out, he tells him, you're the only guy that's been nice to me, and he kisses him on the forehead and lets him out. And to me, that's the reason why Arthur didn't kill his neighbor, because she was the only one that actually noticed him when she walked into the elevator and she smiled at him or had exchange a few words with him. So that's going back to the argument that many people say that he killed his imaginary girlfriend / neighbor. I don't think he did, because of that gesture that he let his other friend go, and he told him, you're the only one that's been nice to me. Okay. And that's Act 3. That's when Act 3 begins. He walks away And Act 3 opens up with fucking amazing music, and the Joker is out. It's a full-blown Joker. So the introduction to the Joker is the dance going down the stairs, which is phenomenal. The way it's shot, and not only that, those stairs are used in the movie, throughout the movie, of Arthur always going up the stairs, slouched, and it's basically, metaphorically of him. Just that's life, just always climbing up. I don't think there's a scene of Arthur going down the stairs. It's always going up the stairs, which is metaphorically like life is difficult, is uphill. And I think I'm almost positive that's the first scene, the first time that he is actually going down the steps. And this time he's dancing and he's full blown Joker. And that scene is amazing. Fuck again, I forgot the song that's playing. Happy upbeat song. I forgot. Anyways, he's dancing down the stairs. Amazing dance, and this I found out after after listening to so many interviews that Joaquin actually worked with 3 dance coordinators to come up with the right dance that would fit Joker. It just looked. I don't know if you picked up on it. It might look simple, like just him going down the stairs and dancing, but I remember even the first time I saw it, the body language in the dance was a very unique. I don't know. It's that dance tells us so much about Joker and who he is. But what's even better, we're all excited and we see him dance in the happy song, but then it kind of like crossfades into the cello again, and his dance is in slow motion. Amazing. I just can't. I don't know what to say. It's just fucking a symphony. Yeah, I fucking love that scene. Him dancing, happy music, that crossfade to the cello and him dancing in slow motion. And yeah, in this one, the cello is reminding us that it's not that of a happy moment. I mean, it's still this bruised personality that we're looking at dancing. As he's dancing, we see two people blurred out in the background on top of the stairway. Those are the detectives. They call him. They start chasing him. The chase is awesome because this one you have a lot of master shots of the city, so you can see all the detail that was put into every shot. The garbage bags, the tons of cars. This threw in stunts. They had the Joker actually getting hit by a cab. It's a great scene. That leads them to the subway. Yeah, and that's where everybody there is dressed as clowns on the way to, for the whole movement that was created. I just love how everything ties together with the story from the beginning that we saw, the movement starting on TV and the news. And it's basically, this is like what we're going through. It's a movement that the media created, with all the interviews and all the bullshit. It's not like Arthur didn't create that movement intentionally. It started with, self-defense, and that whole thing was created. It's just beautiful. Just the way the whole thing is, the whole story's played out. But anyways, when they get to the subway, everyone is dressed as clowns. The detectives chase them. um, one of the detectives accidentally, fires the gun or whatever, and the whole thing starts a riot. They beat him up, whatever. And another fucking shot that I love is the Joker walking out of the subway with, police officers running in the other direction, and Joker with a cigarette. It's fucking amazing. They shot that also 120 frames per second, slow motion. Yeah, the way it's done, it's beautiful. And then, he's at the Murray show behind the scenes. He's talking to Murray, and that's the first time when he's like, when we hear Joker, he's asking Murray to introduce him as Joker. So yeah, he's full on makeup, blah blah blah. But the next thing that I remember is those rainbow colored curtains, and Joker getting ready to walk out on stage, and he does this dance that he did before in the bathroom dance after he killed those 3 Wall Street guys. But fuck, it's just phenomenal. The choice of putting those 2 camera assistants next to him, or whatever assistants they are, but the way they look at him or whatever, that brings it just shows us, like, again, society, it just shows us, like, people look at him as a weirdo, the way they stare at him, the way he's dancing. But it also tells us that this is the time where he doesn't give a fuck. He's just doing that dance to calm down, to relax, because it helped him before, after he killed. Yeah, and the minute he walks out that curtain, that's when you see full-blown Joker, personality-wise as well. He's confident. He's pretty much Joker. So we all know what happens there. He kills Murray. He shoots him. This one, his acting is fucking mind-blowing. He admits killing those 3 people, and then he kills Murray on live TV. The whole sequence is beautifully done, with an ending, a shocking ending of Murray getting shot. And he gets arrested, and this is the homage to the Heath Ledger's Joker, when we see Joker in the police car. But this time he's not sticking his head out. It's just a nice homage that they paid for Heath Ledger's Joker, Dark Knight. So yeah, this one, also the whole sequence of him in the police car, beautifully made. You see the whole city on fire, like people burning shit and breaking shit. Yeah, they actually fucked up and ruined many cars from the 80s. It's that's when you're like, the attention to detail here is amazing. Yeah, and then the ambulance runs into the police car. They pull them out of the car, and also another favorite scene where he kind of gets up on the hood of the car. The whole crowd is cheering him up because they just saw him on TV killing Murray, and admitting that he's the one that killed the 3 3 Wall Street guys. Anyway, so this scene I fucking love to death. The music, as he's rising up and raising his hands and accepting the admiration, and feeling finally he, and this is the thing, he stumbled into the Joker. That's what's so beautiful about this story. He didn't intentionally planned this or started this whole movie. But anyways, the part where he takes the blood out of his mouth and wipes that Joker smile on his face and raises his hands, and music, and it's just brilliant, I tell ya, fucking amazing. But to me, that shot, before I saw the movie, people said that they don't think there was going to be a sequel or whatever. But to me, that shot said everything and told me that there must be a sequel, because we're at the end of Act 3 and Joker is just rising. He's just getting on his feet. But anyways, there's a master shot of the crowd and from a distance, and Joker in the car and smoke and all that. It's just fucking so well made. Yeah, and I think that's it. That's where it cuts to him laughing. And this is, I heard Todd Phillips say this, that this is the only time when Joker is actually, he has a genuine laugh. He said that throughout the movie, he has 3 laughs. One that is the medical thing, the biological condition that he had, the uncontrollable laughter, which is laughter that hurts, that laughter with pain and all that we saw a few times. The second laugh that we see in the movie, and this is from Todd Phillips, not my opinion. The second laugh that we hear is the fake laugh, the forced laugh, like in the comedy club, when he was laughing when he was before he went to talk to his boss, with his friends or whatever. That was a fake laugh. And the third and last laugh, that's the only real laugh of Arthur. Arthur's real laugh, and that's the last scene of him at the mental hospital talking to one of the doctors. And basically, I don't know, it shows us that Bruce Wayne's parents got killed, and maybe he's laughing because of that. And yeah, last sequence is of him walking down the hallway with bloody footprints, so we see that he killed the doctor. That's that. Shit, I hope I wasn't too fucking boring, but just amazing. So many people say it's all in his head. None of it is real. He was in the hospital the whole time telling the story of what he imagined. Some say a part of it is real. What I love about Todd Phillips and Joaquin and everyone involved in the movie, that they, even though they know what the facts are of the story when they wrote it and when they shot it, they will not disclose what it is. And the beauty of it is how many people, came up with different ideas and different point of views, and that's what makes art. When you have 10 people stare at an amazing, let's say, painting, for example, and you'll get 10 different opinions if it's a masterpiece, and that's what makes good movies. Everyone can find something that they relate to when they see the Joker. Everyone can find something that they're angry about, disagree with, or whatever. But it stirs emotions in everyone. I don't know. That's what's so beautiful about it. I don't know. That's art, ladies and gentlemen. That's art. And again, the collaboration that it takes to make a good film, it's just can't express it in words. Like, imagine from script all the way to the crew, the directing, the acting, the score, the lighting, the set, the costume design, editing, like I said before, even the extras in the background. All of it has to come together perfectly in order to make a good movie. And that's why it's not easy to make a good movie. But that's why, I don't know, I worship people like Scorsese, because almost every the movie that he comes out with, it's just great filmmaking. So yeah, that's that. Did I forget something? Oh yeah, so I was going to talk about the media hating on this movie, trying to bash it and making all this noise that it's going to encourage people to kill and blah blah blah. And the weirdest thing for me, I kept hearing that this movie is so violent. I don't get it. I mean, the body count in this movie is 3, no 4. Yeah, the 3. No, 5. We got the 3 Wall Street dudes, his coworker, and his mom. Body count of 5. I don't know. The Avengers, much more. The fucking Deadpool. I don't know, the body count in Deadpool. And you're talking about, and people say Joker is violent. But here's the thing, I know why people say it's violent and not Deadpool or fucking all the superhero movies that they have. They kill more people than Joker. Because it's so fucking real and it's so genuine and so authentic that it, you know, puts a mirror to society. And every body count has a lot of weight on it. Like it's so yeah, people say it's violent, but I don't know. To me, it's just a great fucking story, where you're kind of forced to sympathize with the antagonist. Um, and I don't know, in any movie, what makes a good antagonist is where you can kind of see their motivation or the reason for their behavior. um, yeah, when I most of my acting was theater, and almost I would say probably 90% of the parts that I got, even in the low budget movies that I was in, it was mostly antagonist. I kind of liked playing the bad guy. Um, so yeah, I remember, you know, doing a character analysis for an antagonist. You got to find the motivation, the reasons behind the behavior of an antagonist. So over here you have a character driven story of an antagonist where you're kind of, that's why people feel uncomfortable, because you're kind of like forced to sympathize with that antagonist, and that made people feel uncomfortable. Um, but it's just a beautiful antagonist. But shit, I've seen much worse and much shittier movies. But this one is so unique and different that it made people feel uncomfortable. You know, it was yeah, it's like I said, it's a mirror of us. There's so many messages in that movie. And the funny thing is, many of the messages, if not most, if not all, were not planned by Todd Phillips or Joaquin Phoenix. They didn't think about it. Especially Joaquin, if you'll see interviews when he did the character, he was so you know, he dove into that character so deep that he didn't think anything like politics or none of that. And same with Todd Phillips. They didn't see those things that it created. But hey, maybe it's a good thing because it helped promote the movie. You know, people wanted to see what the whole fuss was about that the media created. Um, but I don't know. I think many film critics are probably should be embarrassed. The ones that bashed the movie. If you look at Rotten Tomatoes, I think it's at 60% from critics and 89, something like that, from audiences. Um, yeah. So it's just brilliant piece of art. I Anyways, I think I've been going on for too long. I think I'm gonna wrap it up, let you guys go, and it seems like next episode will be with Adam again. He's gonna join me, and we're probably gonna be discussing Joker and the whole thing of I don't know about mental illness and everything on that topic. Yeah, I'm sure we'll dive into other topics probably, but. So that's what I'm saying. If I did forget to mention something, I hope I didn't, about this masterpiece. I'll probably mention it when I meet with Adam. But I think that's it. I think we're ready to go. Anyways, my peeps, it's been a while. I missed you. As usual, thank you for listening. I hope it wasn't too boring. I think I did less of analysis that I planned on doing and more of just telling the story of the movie. Anyways, if you're still here, thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to follow me on all social media. Just Planet Joe Pod. Google it. You'll find me anywhere and everywhere. Twitter, Planet Joe Pod, Patreon, Facebook, Instagram, all of that. Planet Joe Pod. Follow me, say something. Go to planetjoepod.com if you want to leave a comment. Click on comments and say something nice. Say something shitty. I don't care. Just say something. Until then, my peeps, again, thank you for listening. I love you. Thank you for your support. And I will see you next time. Peace out, my people. Love ya.